Okay, this video is going to talk about some errors in our Java program. So I want to get a little bit of terminology down and also just see a couple examples. If you've been running programs, you're probably pretty comfortable already with compiler errors. Those are things that when Java is trying to understand your code and compile it, it doesn't understand the syntax or the semantics of how you've put things together. So here are some examples, and likely you've seen some of these. So I have a program over here that has some compiler errors in it, and so I'm going to see when I compile I often just look at the first error and try to figure out the first error and fix it and then recompile. So sometimes other errors will go away if you fix one. So this error is very weird. So sometimes compiler error messages are helpful and sometimes not quite as much. But this is giving us some class, interface, or enum expected. So if you can remember this error, anytime you get this error, it is because braces are mismatched. Now I know it's pointing to this PULIC, and you might think it's the public, and we could fix that certainly and recompile. And we can do the semicolon here. So this was a helpful message. It said to put a semicolon there. But that enum and this error as well, end of file, reach while parsing, either one of those errors is telling me braces are mismatched. And so now, once I close, so something to keep in mind, it's hard on the school computers, but if you are hovering over a brace, it'll show you the matching brace. So when I had this originally, if I hovered this, you can see there's no match for it. So as you get more and more braces in your program, that's a way that you can make sure you're having matches. So reached end of file while parsing, or class, interface, or enum expected, both indicate some sort of brace mismatch or something's out of order. So let's see how we're doing now. So the first compiler error message is right here. Error cannot find symbol. And you can see it's pointing right here to print line. And it's like, why can't it find print line? And then maybe you'll remember, oh yeah, I'm supposed to put that in front of it. So I'm going to Control C, Control V, Control V, because now I'm remembering all of those don't have it. Compile. Still have an error. So this is a tough one. It says it can't find the symbol again, and it's right here pointing at println. Now this is something that's hard to tell on the computers, but this is an L, this is a 1, and this is a capital I. And so we've talked about how important it is to be specific. So I need to fix this 1 to be an L. But when it's telling you it can't find the symbol, it means the name is not quite perfect. So there, we're all compiled, and now we can run. So those are some examples of some compiler errors. So getting used to reading the messages, recompiling and fixing as you go and paying attention. Another one is if you go to use a variable and you've not declared it. So if I say num equals 7 without declaring it, can't find symbol. And what it means is you've not declared a space for it, right? So once I do that, then I'm fine. Okay, so that covers a few of the compiler errors. And once we get past the compile, then we can run our program. So once we run our program, we're not necessarily in the clear. So when we're running the program, there are different types of errors we can encounter. And one type is called an exception, and these are bad. This is when the program halts. It's in the middle of running, and it halts for some reason. And I sometimes talk about green throw up. So I can show you a green throw up example. Is here's a program. It has the scanner to read user input, all it's supposed to do is prompt the user to enter a number. It's going to read in the integer, and then it's going to print it out. So if I compile this, oh, sorry, let me get that. Okay. There we go. Compile this and run it. If I enter a number, it prints it out. Very simple, right? Hit enter, a number, prints it out. It works fine as long as I'm giving an integer, right? The minute I give a double, it freaks out. So this is the green throw up I'm talking about. It's telling me input mismatch. It's pointing to scanner and nextint. And so it's telling me the types don't match. So those errors can be helpful too, although there's usually a bunch of green throw up around it. So sometimes it's a little bit harder to find, but there's lots of different types of scenarios that can give you one of these green throw ups. Dividing a number by 0, doing the square root of a negative. And there's some other exceptions we'll see as we go throughout the year, trying to access indexes and values out of bounds. So another error that's probably maybe the hardest of all is you've got the compiler errors fixed, you've got nothing stopping the program, but it's not producing the output you want. So I have an example here where it prompts the user to enter the number of miles. They enter 50, and then it asks them how many gallons of gas they've used, and then it says 2 miles per 50 gallons is using 0 miles per gallon. So on this example, this is copied from it. Again, it was, why do I keep getting that interested? Well, I'm just going to take it off for now. If I enter the miles as 50 and gallons as 2, you might first focus on why am I getting this 0 miles per gallon, right? That's a problem. And so we saw in another video that that's because we've got integer values here, and so it's going to be truncating, right? So, but the real issue is that I'm entering 50 miles and my output is saying 2 miles. So what's happening is when I ask them to enter the miles, I'm reading it into gallons. So it's an easy mistake, right? The variables are all there and you're copying and pasting. So I really want the word miles here, and I really want the word gallons here. So now I can run it and test it again. 50 miles per 2 gallons has, that looks better, has 25. Now my math is right too. So it affected the miles per gallon calculation as well. So logic errors, you really do have to have in mind what you expect as output. So test cases and expected output are really important to know. Another interesting logic error is terminology that you need to know is this is a program. I actually think I typed this one in. And so just looking at the program, you want to think for a minute what you think it might output. And so this is actually valid to declare 2 variables this way. They're both integers and they both get initial values. So this says the sum is, and it's adding the 2 variables. So we would think it'd be, this is 2 billion. Unfortunately, when you are assigning a value, you can't do that. I believe it gives you a compiler error. It does. It reads those commas as something different. So, but it is 2 billion, so you'd expect x plus y to be 2 billion and 3. And then if you multiply x times y, you'd expect it to be 6 billion. So when I run it, I can see that I'm getting the 2 billion and 3, but this is certainly not 6 billion, and y is 3 times 2 billion equal to this weird number here. And so this again is a logic error, and if you weren't really thinking about what you're doing, you wouldn't really notice, right? And so with logic errors, the compiler is not going to flag any kind of error for you necessarily. It's that it's just not producing what it's supposed to. So in this example, this value is because of arithmetic overflow. And so these variables are integers, and so integers only get a certain number of bytes to store a number. And we looked on one of the first days and talked about how the range is 2 billion, negative 2 billion to positive 2 billion. So it's like 2.1 billion. So the minute I try to store a number bigger than 2.1 billion, the bits for that number actually overflow. So that's where the terminology of overflow. So this is what's left. So for example, if it was 32 bits for the number, but 6 billion needs 34 bits. So really we've just lost the 33rd and 34th bit. They're not being used to interpret what this number is. And so a fix for this is, we've talked a little bit about long, but I can make these long integers, and then I get a little bit more storage to hold the number, a little bit more capacity, and then I can see that my multiplication works fine. So I did say before that for most of the things we're doing, int is sufficient, but you need to be aware that sometimes it's not, and be looking out for those types of situations so you can fix them. So these arithmetic overflows are tough. They don't, what you really need to know is that each data type, when you store it, it has a bound. It is finite. It's on a computer. And so we have to be wary of putting values in it that it can't hold, because Java is not going to warn us. It's just going to overrun, and we're just going to lose some of those bits at the top. So this is another one. I don't have this example typed up, but in this one there's quite a bit, right? There's cost, and I see some things being multiplied, and so some of the weird values. Here we had just a double value 2. Or value is 8.2, and we subtract 1 from it. So you would think value would be 7.2, right? That's minusing 1. And so for some reason, though, when we display it, it's 7.1999999, which seems weird. I think if we do some of the math on these others, some of these other numbers don't seem quite right. So 7.1999 is really close to 7.2. But it just seems odd that we went from 8.2 to the 7.19999. And so this error is not a logic error. It's just a limitation of computers. And so I don't want you to think of this, I mean, it is an error, but not a logic error, not an exception, not a compiler error. This one is called a round-off error. And this has to do with the fact that we are storing numbers always as powers of 2, right? So even the decimal values get powers of 2. So we're used to this part, right? 2 to the 0, 2 to the first for each of the place values. Well, it turns out that decimal values are also powers of 2. And so there are certain decimal values that we can't quite get perfect with powers of 2. So it's not actually storing, in that case, it's not really storing 0.2, it's doing it the closest it can get. And with all these powers of 2, that's as close as it can get, is that 7.1999999. So a value of 0.625 in binary looks like this, and that's fine. This bit was on, this bit is on, and we get 0.625. 0.1 is really hard to represent, and you can see we start getting this repeating pattern. Again, this is in this half of the number. So